Hi, the title of my paper is Transcendental Leadership as Exemplar for Educational Leadership. The English word education stems from two Latin roots, educare, meaning to train or mold, and educere, meaning to draw out. These distinct meanings combine in our understanding of education today, shifting from primarily familial influence to school-based instruction. Educators, embodying a role akin to shepherds of being, are crucial in shaping individuals intellectually, volitionally, and relationally. Education should be dynamic, reaching the core of one's heart and intellect, aiming to foster personal growth and virtues. A new leadership model, Transcendental Leadership, emphasizes love and concern for others, guiding educational leaders to nurture the potential and growth of teachers and students for their utmost human flourishing. Literature Review. The family plays a especially important role in the education of the children. Whether or not the effective education in the family has been solidified, the educator takes over the education of the child in school. The task of the teacher is the formation in good habits or virtues. Education ought to help the learner develop himself or herself and develop all of his or her potential with a view ultimately to giving of himself in love and service. This educational philosophy views the educational task as a simultaneous learning on the part of both teacher and student to grow into better human beings with a special emphasis on interior growth. In this slide, I describe briefly the pedagogy of Don Tomas Alvira and colleagues, who I present as educational leadership exemplars in this paper. Don Tomas Alvira, one of the greatest educators of the 20th century, defines educating as helping to grow, in Spanish, ayudar a crecer. The Instituto Nacional de Enseñanza Media Ramiro de Maeztu was created by ministerial order of April 4, 1939. Those responsible for this new institute then wanted it to have a high educational prestige since the social and cultural circumstances of Spain in the post-war period demanded it urgently. Don Tomas sought to raise the educational level of Spanish society, which needed to be improved. Don Tomas Alvira insisted that parents, the first educators, must help their children to develop the capacities they bring at birth. This thus requires a deep knowledge of and a respect for the singular personality of each one. The Transcendental Leadership model has emerged recently to improve on the transformational leadership style that may include a dark side, that is, a manipulative tendency, in the leadership of the charismatic leader. Transcendental leadership has been defined by a contribution-based exchange relationship. In this relationship, the leader promotes unity and solidarity by providing fair extrinsic rewards, appealing to the intrinsic motivation of the collaborators, and developing their transcendent motivation. Although the element which defines the type of leadership is the collaborator's motivation in the relationship, the behavior of the leader is a critical element in relational leadership, as it can significantly affect the motivations that bring the collaborator to start and maintain that relationship with the leader. Employing grounded theory methodology, this study draws out theoretical propositions for the transcendental educational leadership model by studying educational leadership exemplars that model transcendental leadership, specifically the pedagogy of Don Tomas Alvira and that of Victor Garcia Oth. The reflections and analyses derived can inform future research on educational leadership. It could lead to the eventual formulation of a transcendental educational leadership scale, among other implications. One of the essential innovations of Alvira's pedagogical thought was to consider every school, every educational institution as an aula viva, a living classroom. A living classroom is one where the teacher or professor does not only hold the memory of his students on the basis of their exams, but rather remembering them as intellect and will. A classroom where you think of each student cultivating his or her own personality and empowering his or her free will. A living classroom is one where the teacher tries to awaken in every student the desire for knowing, the love for knowledge, considering it as a good in itself. The idea is that we do not push the students towards studying because of the prize or through punishment. Rather, we get them to feel the desire for knowing, freedom, autonomy, and an eagerness for knowledge. Tomas Alvira's pedagogy was completely opposed to conservatism and rigidity. It was a combination of understanding of and profound respect towards the student, in a perfect balance with being demanding. The table on the slide shows the overarching themes in transcendental leadership. Having transcendent motives, that is, providing the motivational conditions for the organizational members to achieve their full potential, solidarity, service, respect, happiness and well-being, compassion, selflessness, meeting affective needs, human dignity, etc. On the slide are shown our theoretical propositions drawn from the coded words or phrases from the educational leadership characteristics of our exemplars. Firstly, the teacher must have respect and affection for the student. The student must feel known and loved by the teacher, since this is what will make him or her listen to the educator. Secondly, the good educational leader uses a dialogic style. He seeks to raise some questions in the student, not lecture style, but more dialogic, asking thought-provoking questions, akin to the Socratic style. Thirdly, a good educator considers that any true theoretical science must be related to practice by converting the classroom into a sort of laboratory classroom, as innovated by Don Tomas Alvira himself and also his colleague Don Victor Garcia Off. Fourthly, apart from being a natural scientist with a firm knowledge of his science, the good educational leader is also a true humanist. In small details, the teacher knows how to introduce human flourishing and human virtues with simplicity and elegance, as well as references to God and Christianity. Don Tomas Alvira made compatible a demand with an affectionate respect and authentic love for the students. This explains the apparent paradox. A majority of his disciples would highlight his tenderness, but at the same time would affirm that he was a man of strong character, fortitude and tenderness, demand and affection. This most likely was his secret. Conclusions. The recognition that high-quality leadership is central to educational outcomes has led to the view that training is desirable to develop people with the appropriate knowledge, skills, and understanding to lead schools and colleges in an increasingly global economy. For this, transcendental leadership seems poised to tackle the educational crises of our times, as it takes into account ethics, values, and character. By focusing on moral integrity, virtues, treatment of people, people development, and the like, transcendental leadership can be presented as an exemplar for educational leadership. An educational leader can take on these characteristics if they were to be a better leader-educator. Such a teacher embodies a profound passion for the knowledge they impart, recognizing that love breathes life into education. The teacher-student dynamic thrives on a foundation of mutual respect and genuine affection, ensuring that the student feels valued and understood, fostering attentive listening. Employing a dialogic teaching style, the teacher sparks curiosity and engagement by posing thought-provoking questions, steering away from monologues. Additionally, integrating theoretical learning with practical application is crucial, a principle underscored by the introduction of laboratory classrooms, a pioneering concept employed by Tomas Alvira and Victor Garcia Oz in Spain during their time. Thoughtfully curated classroom aesthetics and immersive outdoor experiences further enrich the learning environment. Finally, the educator ought to be a scientist as well as a humanist, subtly incorporating references to God and Christianity into their teaching with grace and simplicity. Thank you very much.